Good morning and welcome to the DAC Monthly Webcast. I'm Jennifer Stafford, the Director in the Division of Assessment and Accountability Support. We welcome you today because we've got very exciting news to share with you. Along with me today, presenting is Lisa Jett, Shara Savage, and Chris Williams. We've got some updates and information to share with you today. If you have questions, please email dacinfo@education.ky.gov. Helen Jones is monitoring that email box and will share any of your questions here with us. Today's agenda, we're excited to share the approved accountability cut scores. Shara is going to provide some reminders about that senior optional fall administration of the ACT. And then we're going to kick off the details about the junior administration in the spring. Chris is going to bring us some reminders about access. It's just around the corner, as well as Lisa is going to provide some additional reminders about the K-screen that is wrapping up. And then I'll be back at the end with the confirmation and the preparation for our quality control day. So lots of exciting announcements today and information. Let's start out with those approved accountability cut scores. As we've mentioned here before on our broadcast, that the Local Superintendent Advisory Council, as well as the Kentucky Department of Education, is in the process of approving those cut scores. We had meetings with an accountability standard setting panel over the summer. We met over the summer a couple of days to review those performance level descriptors. And in September 13th through 15th, they came together and recommended cut scores. And those cut scores, again, are around status, change, and then that overall. Those were shared with the Local Superintendent Advisory Council, who had the opportunity to review those, ask questions about those, and at their meeting this past Tuesday on the 10th, they did unanimously vote to approve those cut scores. Our new interim commissioner, Robin Kinney, also reviewed and approved the cut scores that were recommended from those panel. So we have the accountability cut scores, so we can move forward with releasing and getting forward and stepping forward to public release of accountability system. The cut scores from status, you will see that they may be a little familiar to you because they are the same status cut scores that were in place in 2022. So for elementary, middle, and high school status scores, they're the same cuts as they were last year. The new piece is change. The change element, as you recall, we needed 2 years of status in order to implement the change component because from our training that we released a couple of weeks ago, the status, you get 2 years of status. You take the current year minus the prior year, and you get your change score. So change, it took us a couple of years to implement, and now we're finally able to implement that change component that was legislated in the 2020 legislative session. You'll notice that the change scores vary greatly if you look at each indicator. So for elementary, you have your change and your status. For middle, you have your change in your status, and your high school, you have this status and change as well. Now, if we look at the change scores, you'll see that the range of change is both negative and positive. We hope that all schools improve, but progress is not always linear. You take some steps forward, maybe a step back to make two steps forward. So, looking at change, it's on a different scale than our status. For status, for example, in reading and math, it's on a 0 to 125. So the scores in status on reading and math can range from 0 to 125. But as you see here in this high school example, you'll notice that the range of change isn't that great, in that there's a smaller scale of change than there is for status. That was a primary reason that we couldn't just put status plus change and divide it, because it really didn't make sense to do that. If you'll notice also here with the cut scores, if you look at the cut between maintained and increased, the panelists recommended and was approved that any increment of positive movement was increased. So you can see that even with the slightest increment of positive change will be an increased level on that change component. You'll also notice that the maintained category, there's a range there that varies by indicator, starting at 0 and moving backwards into the negative, that there's a small range that the school can decline a bit and still be in that maintained category. Now, if you look even further, you'll notice the difference in the scales of change, even between the indicators. For looking at reading and math and comparing that to your graduation, you can see that for reading and math, the decline significantly is less than a negative 12 and goes up to 6.3. Whereas your graduation, it's the 5.1 or less to 3.0. So that range, they even vary in between your indicators within the same level. So those are the latest approved change and status cut scores for our elementary, middle, and high schools. For our overall, and again, the training that was released a couple of weeks ago in a DAC email explained how we get to those overall scores, that you bring all the weighted indicator scores together, and you add those together and get your overall performance score. So the standard setters, they really thoughtfully considered what it means to be in each of these categories for the overall accountability system for each school. They really thought about what it means to be a blue school compared to a green school, and a green compared to a yellow, and so forth. So wanted to get these to you as soon as we possibly could after they were approved. So this was one step closer than we get to move toward public reporting. And I'll be back later to talk about the Quality Control Day that will happen on Tuesday the 17th. But at this point, I'll turn it over to Shara, who's going to bring us those reminders about ACT.
Thank you, Jennifer. So yes, good morning, everyone. I hope everyone has had a good fall break, or if you're on there now, I hope you're enjoying yourself and you're watching this at a later time. But I wanted to come on here and give you a few reminders about the senior optional administration that is currently underway at this time. So test window 1, it will be wrapping up at the end of this week. And so reminders for that is the pre-scheduled test day, or the pre-scheduled pickup for those materials will be October 16th. If something happens and you don't get it shipped out, the ACT needs that in hand by October the 20th. And I've placed some resources on your slide there for you to help you with any questions that you may have packing and getting those materials shipped back. Now, so as we wrap up test window 1, test window 2 will begin next week, next Tuesday. And so right now, as of yesterday, you were able to start going in there and setting up your test sessions for window 2. So you have until throughout the test window to create test sessions, add students to those sessions, and so forth. And again, I've placed some resources there on your slide for your convenience. Now, the pre-scheduled pickup date for that will be Monday, October the 30th, and ACT needs those back in hand no later than November the 3rd. And let's see. Now this is just for, this reminder is for both window 1 and window 2. And I've been receiving quite a few questions on this. So I wanted to put this out here for you for your awareness. So if you have a student in a test session who you know for whatever reason is not going to test, you've put them in a test session, but they're not going to test. All you have to do is remove them from that test session and no other action is required. If the student comes back for whatever reason in test window 2 and says, hey, you know, I've thought about it, I really do want to test, then all you have to do is just place them in a test session. Now, the little more complicated part of that is if a student, if you accidentally mark a student complete, or the student starts testing and for whatever reason, say they got sick and they didn't complete the test, there's a little more steps to take place with that. So first and foremost, if that happens, you want to contact ACT and you want to let them know that this student needs to be designated as do not report. And so if the student is going to test again, then testing staff, after you contact ACT and tell them the student is do not report, then you can place that student back into a test session if the student wants to retest, you know, is feeling better in window 2 and come back and said, yes, I'm better and I now want to test. So that you can do that. So just work that out with customer service and with ACT customer service. All right, now shifting gears here just a little bit as we are wrapping up this month, the fall senior administration. In November, we will start kicking off the junior administration. Now, with the junior administration, there are differences in policy. So we are bringing to you some in-person sessions, training sessions. So it'll be ACT and OAA putting on this training. And our first one will be in Lexington at the Hyatt Regency on November the 5th. Now, this location is a little bit different from where we were at in prior years. And then we will also be the next day in Bowling Green at the Holiday Inn, University Plaza, where we have been for several years now, on November the 16th. And so on your slide there, you have links to the registration, whichever one that you would decide to attend. And at this point, that is all the updates for ACT that I had to provide to you. So at this point, I'm going to turn things over to Chris. Chris, you're on mute.
Thank you, Shara. Appreciate that. Well, welcome everyone. So I'm going to be talking to you today about some of the access reminders for you. And let's begin with our access for ELL's reminders. We are in the access ordering in WIDA AMS, which is the WIDA Assessment Management System. That is the DRC site that you have a separate log on to get to the ordering of materials. The material ordering opens September the 29th for you to start, and it will end October 25th. And so you still have, several weeks now to be able to order. I appreciate all the ones who have got in and started ordering, but I do realize that, some of you were on spring break last week. And then now, this week, some more of you are on spring break. So I look forward to seeing some more ordering happening. And like I said, it's been very steady with the access orderings. Want you to make sure that you do have access to that to be able to go into that. There was a PowerPoint presentation that I sent out prior to it opening to allow you to know when to order and also how to order. So there's steps in there, PowerPoint presentation for you, as well as DRC, Data Recognition Corporation, sent out a email letting you know that it opened to our district assessment coordinators. And so I believe that it is going very smoothly with the orders. Also, just wanted some reminders with the particular ordering of that is that when you put in your order, make sure that you are putting it in by district and by school. You're selecting each school that you're going in and putting those orders in. Another thing is that make sure that you're putting in your counts for your kindergarten, because that'll be the first thing you put in if you've got any kindergarten students who are EL. The next one would be your your online ordering. And a lot of our students will be doing the online ordering. And so you will put in those by grade level bands of grades 1, grades 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, and 9, 12. And it's very important that, like I said, you put those in by school level. Also, the next one you will be able to see is your alternate access. And so it'll be a separate one to be able to put in for students with significant cognitive disabilities all the way from kindergarten to grade 12. And you'll be able to put that in. And then we also have our accommodated materials of large print and Braille for our students. And so you'll see all of that when you go in and order. Another thing for DACs when you're ordering is also not only put in your orders by grade level, by school, and then you'll see the grade levels come up, but also make sure that you are also checking your shipping information, because that's going to be a very important piece to make sure that your materials get to the right location. And so you'll be able to check all that information when you get ready to go in. So if you, to be able to check that particular piece as a DAC, you'll go in and when you get to the tile for ordering, you'll open that up and then click on materials ordering. And then you will select your district, and that will show your shipping information. And then if you choose the school for each individual school that you're going in, it'll bring up each individual school and be able to put in your counts for that. Remember that for kindergarten, you just put in the counts, and then your materials will be shipped to you with all the kits that you're going to need. And then for your grades 1 through 3, you're testing online. Remember that they will do writing, which will be separate. It'll be paper pencil. That's the only domain that they will do paper pencil. And for that particular one, when you put in your counts, DRC will send you that particular information for both Tier A and BC. Then once that closes for access ordering, then we get into our pre-ID labels. You do not have to do that as a district assessment coordinator. We'll do that for you at the state level. So once it closes on the 25th, we'll get that pre-ID label information ready to be able to send to DRC for you. And then we also have had some technology webinars for your district technology coordinators, your DTCs. Now, those webinars, you can get to all the information for your district technology person in your district. They can, or at the school level, they can get in by seeing all this information in WIDA AMS. And so then we also have access trainings like the PowerPoint that I was talking to you about ordering. That's also on that WIDA, it's on the KD Access webpage because that's where a lot of the trainings that I do for you will be posted. And then we also have the WIDA Secure portal that you have to log in if you're going to be a test administrator and take the necessary quizzes. And then don't forget to make sure that you that is already open. That opens September 1st for you to start doing your access trainings for this year. Make sure that once you finish those particular trainings that you give that to your district assessment coordinator either electronically or by paper, so that way they have that along with your administration code and inclusions of special populations training. Then another wonderful resource for you is our Kentucky WIDA's member page. So when you log on to the WIDA website, go to the WIDA website, you'll be able to see up at the top, there will be a drop down for members page. Select Kentucky and you'll be able to see all of the schedule for you, as well as lots of, there will be some new checklists for you for this year that will be available soon. But like you have the entire testing schedule, you also have the identification and placement guidance for you for screener when you're first starting out. And then also, you know, about the necessary quizzes and things like that when you get students in. Also, we have professional development opportunities too that is free to everyone in your district. Whether you're going to if you're administering the access, you already have that professional development tile to be able to go in and look at those opportunities. And also, if you're going to be working with ELs and you're not going to be testing, then you can get that what we call e-learning only, and your DAC would fill that out on the Google form for that particular e-learning only, and then we'll set you up an account for just the professional development. So lots of useful information and reminders for you, and we look forward to another successful administration of access, and appreciate all you do. So I believe Lisa is our next one.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you, Lisa.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for being with us. I'm just going to give you a few reminders for the K-Screen program. The deadline for districts to enter and submit their core assessment and self-help social emotional data into the online management system is usually October 15th. With that being on a Sunday this year, the deadline will be the following Monday, October 16th. The deadline to have prior settings entered into Infinite Campus will also be October 16th. Once the district or the school has all of the data entered into OMS, we do recommend downloading a CSV file of the data using the group screening summary report and hold on to that for a reference. We do ask you to do this because the current database in OMS will be removed each spring after the window closes to prepare OMS for the upcoming school year. And lastly, it is important to periodically check and ensure kindergarten students have those prior settings entered into Infinite Campus. We currently have a report to assist in these checks. When you click on Student Early Learning Prior Settings, please make sure that you have active year selected. You will want to have this ad hoc reporting, then go to Data Export. After that, you will choose State Published, then click on Student Early Learning Prior Settings. Make sure that is a CSV file. The other thing you want to make sure of is that the comma is marked, and then you'll be able to export that as a CSV file as well. And then you can check to ensure that all of those students have their prior settings entered into Infinite Campus. If you have any questions about the Brigant Screener or prior settings, please reach out to me, lisa.jett@education.ky.gov. And I believe I'm turning this over to Jennifer.
Thank you, Lisa. And thanks to Chris and Shara as well for all their good updates. We are excited now that we have approved accountability cut scores. We can now move forward with Quality Control Day. So we wanted to confirm that Quality Control Day will happen on Tuesday, October 17th. And we are excited that our next step in the quality control process can happen. The Quality Control Day is a day that we ask district assessment coordinators and whoever they want to help them in this endeavor to review accountability data. This will be the first time on QC Day that districts will get to see their own district as well as school accountability data. That'll be the first time they get to see caller ratings, status and change levels, or a TSI identification, things of that nature, any federal classification that the school may have. It'll be the first time that they get to see their own accountability data. Now, we put this out as a quality control step and asked district assessment coordinators to review it, to look for any big systematic errors. And those systematic errors may impact multiple schools. So we really think about this data that is shared on Quality Control Day as preliminary, and put this in place so that we can get to more accurate public reporting when we get to that. So it is happening, and we have multiple resources that we've been developing in preparation for QC Day. There is a special DAC email that is planned to be released tomorrow. In that email, there will be multiple resources available. There's going to be a recording that Helen and I do to talk about the purpose and the resources, the materials that you'll go through during QC Day. It'll talk about the spreadsheets and give you some idea about what they look like. For those district assessment coordinators or building assessment coordinators who were part of the Quality Control Day last year it's a very similar process. We've got the same type of format that we're going to use, and we'll have that ready for you. In tomorrow's email, we'll also have, in addition to that PowerPoint presentation and video recording that Helen and I do, there's going to be a comprehensive document that details and identifies a lot of the aspects of the new accountability system. I really think that it's going to help answer a lot of questions, and it'll be a really good resource for you as we go forward with trying to understand and learn this new accountability system. We also have the cut scores that are out that we just shared with you, and we'll also put links to those accountability overview and those individual recordings and trainings around each of those state indicators. So look for an email tomorrow, in a special DAC email, with all of those resources that will prepare you for Quality Control Day. And again, the purpose of a Quality Control Day is to look for those big errors that may be there. We hope not. We think that the system is good, but it is always helpful for you to take a look for, because you know the students in your schools, you know more closely the number of students that you are expecting to see and where they are in that accountability. You should see changes that were identified during the fall data review. We want to make sure that those were correctly implemented, and so you'll get to see those in there. It's not a time for individual student changes. That happened in fall data review, and then it'll also take place again after we go out with public reporting. So when we look at the purpose of the Quality Control Day, we want to get to as accurate of public reporting and accurate data prior to public reporting as we can. So it's another step that we in Kentucky take that the other states don't do to get to that quality data. Now, other things, we'll ask you to review the data with looking at mostly the accountability pieces. It'll, again, be that first time that you see those color ratings, those levels, those indicator scores, and those federal classifications. So we're going to want you to focus there on that during the QC day. So the first step that you can take now is to download a non-disclosure form. We've linked it here for you on the slide because this data that will be shared is embargoed. It's not ready for public release because we've got to take those quality control steps. So we're asking you as the district assessment coordinator to complete a non-disclosure that's just solidifies the fact that you will not share the data publicly because it's not final yet, and submit that to the Kentucky Department of Education through the Google form on the slide. Now, you can just download that form, fill it out, and upload it quite easily in the Google form. And the deadline for submitting that non-disclosure is Monday, October 16th, right before QC Day. So if you would get those submitted prior to Quality Control Day so that we can turn the data on for you and you can have the opportunity to review your data. If we don't get your non-disclosure signed, then you will not have access to that data. So make sure you get that step taken. Tasks to be completed on QC Day, there'll be a QC Day checklist. And again, for the majority of you that were here last year, it will look very similar. We're going to ask you to look at the accountability. The pieces that are new are around that change component, because this is the first year we have that change component. So we'll be looking at that and comparing those and looking at whether the data are reasonable, and the counts and the student numbers and things of that nature. So you'll go through a checklist. It'll say, the checklist will say, go to this spreadsheet and complete this task or review this, and then you'll check it off. And by the time that you work through all of the checklist, then you'll just sign it at the bottom. Now, if there are any errors that seem like there are big errors that could impact multiple districts, we're going to ask you to complete a discrepancy sheet. We'll have the many of our staff, all of our staff are going to be supporting you in this, but we'll be researching those discrepancies as they are submitted, and we will be researching those. Now, if you get an email back with an answer, that's great, but you may not get an immediate answer on those discrepancy forms, because we do want to make sure that we research those possible errors in that and make sure that we've got the data accurate as possible on that. So the discrepancy sheet is going to be the main way that you communicate those errors in the data, and so that will take place on September 17th, and again that will take place, and the plan is for those links to those spreadsheets and the password to be shared Tuesday morning, right before the data is opened through a special DAC email. So you'll get a special DAC email on Tuesday opening up Quality Control Day with the links to the task checklist, as well as the discrepancy form and the password that will help you get into that. As you begin preparing for QC Day, the first thing is get that non-disclosure submitted, signed and submitted. And then if you haven't had the opportunity to watch those indicator trainings, please do that. In the presentation that prepares you for QC Day, we don't reiterate the information in those overview in those indicator trainings. We go straight into how to prepare for QC Day. So if you haven't had the opportunity to look at those, watch those recordings, review those presentations. Also, you may refresh yourself with knowing the minimum in and how that is applied to both the school as well as those individual student groups. So that's going to be important as well. A couple other things you may consider doing is downloading some of those spreadsheets that were in SDRR and having those just handy for you, as well as making sure you have access to that secure web application. If you don't have access to the secure web app, then you will need to get with your WAPOC at your district level. So make sure that you have all of those things kind of at hand and be prepared for when it is opened on Tuesday, October 17th. And again, QC Day will open with that special DAC email to open up and share the links and the password, and then it will close at 4 p.m. Eastern time. So it will run from 9 a.m. Eastern to 4 p.m. Eastern time. So that'll give you plenty of time to review that data. So just as a reminder where we've been, we had Quality Control Day or not quality, to get to Quality Control Day, we had fall data review. That was the another step in the quality control process. That's where the individual student changes were made. Then we moved into the standard setting that was September 13th through 15th. We had that LSAC meeting this past week that approved those cut scores that the panelists during that September meeting, the accountability standard setting had recommended. And all that leads to our quality control day. So we had to have all those things in place and happen to get to quality control day. If quality control day goes well, then the embargo of public release data will be October 30th. So that's tentative as of right now. October 30th is because we need to get through quality control day. And if you find any errors, then we need to make sure that those are corrected and any adjustments made in the data before we go public or go to embargo with them. Which leads me to that we see the data that is shared on QC Day as preliminary. It's by no means final because we are taking those quality control steps. DACs across the state will be reviewing those spreadsheets and doing that checklist and submitting discrepancy forms. And there may be systematic errors found. And so if it happens that there is an error, then that means your data could change. So anytime that you are looking at this data on quality control day, please know that that's just preliminary and that it could change. And even though you don't find an error or you don't submit a discrepancy form, others are submitting discrepancy forms that could impact your data. So again, just some cautions around that quality control, that data. Public reporting for public release of the report card is tentatively scheduled for October 31st. And let's take a little bit deeper dive into the 30th and 31st. So looking at the 30th, I mentioned that the district embargo would be the 30th, starting at 8 a.m. Now, this on the 30th will be the first time that districts, you as a district assessment coordinator, will be able to see your neighboring districts or districts across the state and the state level data. QC Day is your individual schools and district data. When we get to the 30th for the embargo, that's when you'll be able to see the state results in your other districts. The same day on the 30th, the media will get access to the data beginning at noon. So at that point, that's when you can begin to privately talk with your local media outlets, your newspaper, your if you have television stations or TV stations or internet providers that do news on your school, that's when you can privately start talking with them on October 30th. And then on October 31st, the embargo will lift and the accountability data will become public on October 31st at 10 p.m. Eastern Time. So that's when on the 31st, that's the tentative plan to open the school report card. Now, after the public release on the 31st, then we'll go into what we call the 10-day regulatory review period. And that's the next opportunity that you'll get to make individual student changes. And the 10-day regulatory review is in statute. We realize November 1st through 13th is a few more than 10 days, but the 10 days fell on a weekend, and so we pushed it back forward until that Monday, the 13th. So SDRR will open on November 1st at 9 a.m. Eastern to make individual student changes. Then the SDRR will close on November 13th at noon for new tickets. Now it'll stay open a little bit longer for resolution of those tickets, but new tickets will end, or submission of those new tickets will end at noon on November 13th. So that's the tentative plan for public release, and we hope that everything goes well with Quality Control Day so that we can move toward that public release date. Let me pause at this point and turn to Helen. Do we have any questions in our DAC email?
Actually, we do, Jennifer. The first question is for you. Tanya Dillon wants to know, what is the weight of change in the accountability system?
So the weight of change varies between the indicators because it is, but it's a significant amount. Where change and status comes into play is within the state reporting within that color 5x5 table. So when you're looking at that 5x5 table, the intersection of status and change comes together in a significant way to ultimately get to that color rating in that reporting for each of those indicators.
So Jennifer, the next question is for Cher. Cher, Mike Coffey wants to know, will a session be recorded for those who can't attend to gain information?
There will be
ACT.
There will be a recording released later. But if you can send, these trainings are open to the DACs. The BACs are welcome, or any testing staff you feel could benefit from these trainings. So, but yes, later on there will be a recording released.
Okay. The next question is for Chris. Is in regards to access orders. This is coming from Teresa Nichols. If I anticipate that a student will be alternate access, the ARC meets just after the closing of ordering, should I order the alternate access version of the access for them now, or wait and do an additional ordering once the ARC officially identifies them as alternate access? You're on mute here, Chris.
That's a great question. So I appreciate that. So what you want to do is you want to wait until the ARC has determined that the student is going to be on that alternate track before you place that order, because you'll have time, once the order, once the window closes, then you'll be able to put that in as an additional order in December when it opens up in WIDA AMS for additional orders. So you'll be able to do that then. But keep in mind that if you have any students who move in, now during your window and you've already completed your order, you can still go in and edit those orders up until October 25th, and be able to put those, orders in. And you also want to make sure that when you're putting students in for ordering, that you are also making sure that those students are in Infinite Campus as well, because we're checking that information as we go through. And so that's very important that you get that correct in Infinite Campus. And sometimes there could be some syncing issues too. So you want to also run a sync with your IC person in your district. So no, that's a lot of information, Helen. So.
Okay, great. Jennifer, we have another question for you. This is from Amanda Reed. Amanda says, she apologized for being, she had to join a little late. She says she has a question regarding TSI. I have a school that was designated TSI in 2022 for a specific subgroup. I'd like to make sure I'm clear on what is required for them to exit TSI in 2023. Will that be based on status only, or will it include a calculation that reflects both status and change? That's the first part. And then the next part is, what is the criteria to determine if the school has made enough progress with that subgroup to exit?
So Helen, that gets into specifics. So why don't we take that, and I'll just respond to that in an email. And also I'll note for you, Amanda, that we've developed in the Office of Assessment Accountability this comprehensive document that is going to answer many of those questions around TSI. I really appreciate your questions that you sent me previously, because that guided the development of that comprehensive document. And so many of those questions will be answered in that document that is going to be released tomorrow in a special DAC email. So you'll see answers to this type of questions and many others within that document.
Okay. Lynette Brock has a question to clarify. Do you mean on the quality control dates, our BACs can have access to the quality control day training?
They can have access, building assessment coordinators can have access to the training as well as the data. As I noted earlier, that you as the district assessment coordinator can decide who to share that with. If you want to engage your building assessment coordinators with you to review the data, then you would need to have them sign a non-disclosure, and you would keep that at the district level. The district assessment coordinator, you would have to submit that to us. So you are verifying to us that you will review the data and keep it private, not discuss it publicly, because again, it's preliminary. And you would submit your non-disclosure to KDE. If you want to engage your BACs, you're welcome to do that. Just they need to understand that it is preliminary and the data may change. So if you're comfortable with that, if you have people that you want to help you review the data, they are available. You're welcome to have your VACs help you with that. And that's a district decision.
And Jennifer, I think she went on to ask, she wanted to know about them receiving their passwords or login, but that would just come directly through the DAC, and then she could share that with the appropriate staff. Correct.
Right. So a special DAC email will be released in the morning of QC day to say that it's open and the secure web application is open and has the data available. If you have submitted your non-disclosure, then it will open to you. And in that email will have the links to the task list, the discrepancy sheet, as well as the password. that you
And-
may share then with the people that you have given access and
Yeah.
receive their non-disclosure.
And I think that takes care of her last question, was when are superintendents, principals, and teachers allowed to see the results? So that would address that as well. So
yes,
and she said she's new in this role, so that's why she's asking these questions. So
those are really good questions, and those are going to be addressed directly in the presentation that's going to be released tomorrow in a special DAC email. So Helen and I recorded that, and it's being prepared for release tomorrow. So those type of questions will be all within that presentation. Actually, the answers to those questions will be in that training in PowerPoint.
Those are all the questions that I have. I don't have any additional questions. That's it.
Great.
Thank
Well,
you.
thank you, Helen. And I want to say thanks again to Chris, Lisa, and Shara for their information and sharing. And thank each of you for all that you do for students every single day. We appreciate you, and we look forward to QC Day. We'll talk soon.